There are days when life flows with a rare stillness like a quiet stream under morning light. And then there are days when that stream becomes a storm, chaos, noise, disruption. It is the nature of growth, the nature of life itself. Unpredictable, relentless, demanding. But here's the question every man must answer when the world shakes. Do you shake with it, or do you remain still? In a world that glorifies urgency and overreaction, calmness seems like a lost art. But it isn't. It's not some distant gift reserved for sages or monks. It's a skill, a habit, a discipline, one that can be cultivated by anyone willing to reclaim control over the only thing they truly own, their mind. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This video isn't about escaping storms. It's about becoming the kind of person who can walk straight through them, unshaken, unmoved, untouched. Because peace isn't found in perfect conditions. It's forged in the fire of self-mastery. So today we begin that journey, a practical exploration of how to train your mind to remain calm, not by avoiding difficulty, but by learning how to meet it with poise, with purpose, and with power. Let's unlock what the Stoics knew, that calmness isn't weakness, it's dominance, quiet, unbreakable, and unshakable. 1. Anger doesn't solve problems, it exposes them. Anger is a spark. It flares up fast, feels powerful, feels righteous. For a moment it convinces you that it's strength, like fire in your veins, giving you the energy to speak, to act, to fight back. But here's the unspoken truth about anger. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't restore your dignity. It only masks your inability to stay calm. In fact, anger often makes things worse. Imagine this. You're driving. It's a normal day, maybe you're listening to music or lost in thought. Suddenly, another driver cuts in front of you. No signal, no space, just reckless disregard. Your pulse spikes. Instantly, anger demands control. How dare they? Your hand hovers over the horn. You're tempted to tailgate, flash your lights, prove your point. But ask yourself this. What is the actual goal? Do you want safety or do you want revenge? Because anger always chooses retaliation over resolution. And that choice rarely leads anywhere worth going. The Stoics remind us you cannot control the actions of others, but you can control your response. That is your power. That is your domain. When you react in anger, you give that power away. You hand it over to the person who offended you, who disrespected you. In trying to win, you lose control of your emotions, your reason, and your peace. Let's go deeper. Anger isn't just about the moment. It reveals something deeper inside you. Your triggers, your unhealed wounds, your fragile ego. And that's why it's dangerous, because it doesn't just explode outward, it rots inward. There's a lie many people believe, that staying calm is weak, that silence means surrender. But in truth, it's much harder to stay silent when you're provoked than it is to lash out. It takes far more strength to breathe and respond than to shout and regret. Calm is a higher discipline. It's the ability to choose your next move with clarity rather than chaos. It's not about pretending something didn't bother you. It's about acknowledging that it did and choosing not to be ruled by it. Think about it. When someone yells at you and you yell back, who's in control? Neither of you. You're just two people drowning in reaction, feeding each other's emotional fire. But when someone insults you and you remain calm, look them in the eye, and either speak with poise or say nothing at all, you've just shifted the entire dynamic. You're no longer playing their game. You're leading with mastery. Here's the core truth. Anger isn't strength. Control is. And choosing peace over rage is not passive. It's a powerful act of restraint and sovereignty. Ask yourself, When someone makes you angry, do they deserve that power over you? Do they deserve to pull the strings of your emotional state? If the answer is no, then it's time to reclaim your calm. Remember this Stoic principle. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. Your reaction is your responsibility. Your calm is your armor. Your silence, when chosen with intention, can be louder than any scream. So the next time the world tests you on the road, at home, at work, don't let anger lead. Let discipline speak. Let presence speak. Let your stillness echo louder than their noise. That is Stoic power. That is the calm that changes everything. 2. Calmness is not weakness, it's supreme strength. We live in a world that worships volume. The loudest voice wins the argument. The most aggressive stance is seen as confidence. The person who explodes first is often assumed to hold power, but none of that is real strength. It's only noise. Calmness, in contrast, is subtle. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek dominance. It simply holds the ground. And yet it is the strongest force in the room. Why? Because true strength is never frantic. It doesn't need to shout to be felt. It doesn't need to flinch to prove it exists. Real power is stilled, controlled, centered, unbothered by chaos. Let me ask you this. When someone raises their voice at you, how do you respond? Do you match their intensity, escalate, meet fire with fire? Or do you pause, breathe, and stay grounded like an immovable mountain? The first reaction feels strong in the moment, but it's fragile. It means your emotions are being puppeteered by someone else's behavior. The second option, that stillness under pressure, that's not weakness, that's mastery. And Stoicism teaches us that the highest power is not in conquering others, but in conquering ourselves. A man who can rule his tongue when insulted. A man who can keep his hands steady when challenged. A man who can keep his heart unshaken when all around him is in disarray. That man owns something most never will: inner sovereignty. Let's look at an example from history. Mahatma Gandhi, a slender man with no weapons, no army. And yet he brought the mighty British Empire to its knees, not through violence, not through outrage, but through an unshakable calm, rooted in conviction. When they struck, he stood still. When they jailed him, he smiled. When they mocked him, he marched. His calmness dismantled their aggression because it exposed their moral bankruptcy while revealing his unbreakable strength. That's the paradox. The more calmly you face the storm, the more power you hold over it. In everyday life, this is just as true. In a business meeting where someone tries to embarrass you. In an argument where the other person tries to provoke you. In a relationship where silence is used to control or manipulate. Your calmness is your boundary. It is your line in the sand that says, "You don't control my peace." But here's the secret most don't understand. Calmness is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of deep discipline. You still feel the surge of anger. You still feel the sting of criticism. You still feel the urge to fire back, but you don't let it move you. That's not being cold, that's being in command. The man who loses his temper easily is not strong. He is reactive, ruled by the world around him. He's like a candle in the wind, flickering, unstable, extinguishable. But the man who controls himself, he is a torch. Wind may blow, but it cannot snuff him out, because his flame comes from within. This is what Stoicism calls us to become. Not robotic, not emotionless, but ungoverned by external chaos, anchored in principle, grounded in presence. So next time you're tempted to prove your strength by raising your voice or reacting impulsively, ask yourself this: am I asserting power or am I revealing my lack of it? Because nothing unsettles the petty, the manipulative, the aggressive, like a man who remains utterly still in the face of their chaos. When you don't play their emotional game, you force them to face themselves. Calmness disarms more enemies than any retaliation ever will. And when you make calm your way of being, not just in public but in private, then no insult can shake you, no setback can break you, and no man can own you. Because then, and only then, you truly become what the Stoics envisioned. Not just a man who survives the storm, but a man who is the calm inside it. 3. Control your mind, or be ruled by it. There is a battlefield we often ignore. It's not out there in the world. It's not among enemies, politics, or problems. It's right here within. The human mind is both the sharpest sword and the most cunning saboteur, and until you learn to master it, you will be a servant to its chaos. Have you ever felt like your mind was betraying you? Like your thoughts were working against you, turning minor discomforts into storms of overthinking, turning a simple moment of silence into a spiral of self-doubt? That is the untrained mind. A mind that reacts instead of reflects. A mind that pulls you into emotional whirlpools where logic has no anchor. Let me paint you a scene. You're at a gathering, good energy, warm conversations. Suddenly, someone makes a sly remark about you. Maybe it's a joke, maybe it's a jab. Either way, it cuts. Now, if your mind is untrained, what happens next is predictable. A wave of offense crashes in, your heart pounds, your face flushes, your pride flares up like dry grass meeting a spark. You want to respond, lash out, make them feel the sting they just gave you. But here's the Stoic truth. That reaction isn't strength. It's submission to your impulses, to your pride, to your ego. It's your mind controlling you. Epictetus warned us, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In other words, the insult wasn't the problem. Your interpretation of it was. This isn't about suppressing emotions. Stoicism never demands that. It's not about pretending you're unbothered while boiling inside. It's about observing your emotion, anger, shame, hurt, and choosing to act from wisdom, not reflex. So what does mastery look like in that party scene? You pause, you breathe. You look the person in the eye, not with rage, not with shame, but with unshakable clarity. And maybe you smile, because you know something they don't. Their words have no weight unless you pick them up. This doesn't just protect your peace, it unsettles those who try to provoke you. Why? Because they expected drama. They expected control over your emotional state, but instead, they're met with stillness. The Stoic man does not react. He chooses. He chooses dignity over drama, power over panic, silence over shouting. And this choice, this ability to remain unmoved, isn't built in grand moments, it's forged in the ordinary. When a driver cuts you off, when your boss criticizes unfairly, when a loved one snaps at you in a bad mood. Each of these is training ground. You don't control the external, that's life, but you can become a fortress inside, unshaken, undisturbed. The truth is simple, but brutal. If you don't control your mind, it will control you, and it doesn't care about your peace, your goals, or your future. It cares only about survival, emotion, and ego. But you are not just your emotions. You are not just the pain of a moment. You are the awareness behind the storm, the observer who chooses how to respond. So ask yourself this. When your emotions rise, who is in charge, your feelings or your principles? Because every time you choose calm over chaos, you remind your mind who really holds the reins. 4. Losing control is a choice, and so is mastery. Most people believe they lose control because of others. That guy made me angry. She pushed me too far. The situation was just too much. But pause, strip away the excuses, and you'll discover something hard to accept, yet liberating. You didn't lose control, you gave it away. You chose to abandon calm. You chose to let emotion speak louder than principle. You chose to forget that your reaction is always your responsibility. That is the truth most avoid, because it strips away blame and shines a light on personal discipline, or the lack of it. But the Stoic embraces this truth, because once you realize that losing control is a choice, you also awaken to something greater. You can choose not to lose it. Let me show you how this plays out through a simple, everyday moment. You're standing in line at the supermarket. It's been a long day, you're tired, you just want to get home. Suddenly, someone cuts right in front of you, bold, unapologetic. The anger rises fast, your blood heats, your fists clench. Part of you wants to speak up loudly, confront them, prove a point. But stop. Ask yourself, what's really at stake here? Is this moment worth losing your composure? Is this worth letting a stranger dictate the state of your mind? Or is it just your ego demanding to be fed? Now imagine an old man watching that same scene unfold, the one who's lived enough life to know better. He doesn't react, doesn't even flinch. He continues reading his newspaper or checking his list, untouched. Someone asks, "Why didn't you say something?" He shrugs. He didn't do it on purpose. And even if he did, my anger won't change that. It'll just disturb me. Why should I carry that? That is mastery. The ability to let go of unnecessary battles. The clarity to recognize when peace is more powerful than being right. The wisdom to understand that most insults don't deserve a response, they deserve your silence. And here's why that matters. Every time you explode, you train your nervous system to equate power with reaction. You become a puppet to your environment. Your peace, your clarity, your strength now belong to everyone but you. But every time you pause, breathe, and choose restraint, you rewire yourself. You train your mind to serve you, not sabotage you. And that is the mark of a man who is truly in command of his life. So how do you start building this control? It begins with awareness. 1. Catch the spark before the fire starts. That moment of tension, that rising heat, it's your signal, not your command. You're not a slave to it. You can observe it without obeying it. 2. Ask better questions. Will this reaction help me or hurt me? Am I responding from strength or from wounded pride? 3. Choose the long game. Calmness isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about responding in a way that protects your peace and your purpose. Because here's the Stoic truth. You don't need to win every moment. You just need to not lose yourself in it. Losing control might feel justified, but justified doesn't mean wise. It might feel powerful, but power that burns hot also burns out. Real power is cold, still, focused. It's the man who says, "I could react, but I don't need to." It's the warrior who knows that silence can be sharper than any sword. So the next time you feel the urge to lash out, remember, that is your moment of choice, not their moment of control. Will you hand them your peace, your self-respect, your clarity? Or will you hold the line calm, unmoved, untouchable? Control is not given, it is claimed. And every time you choose not to lose it, you build a life that no one else can shake. 5. Don't get stuck in the past or the future. Return to the only place you truly own. There is a war most people never realize they're fighting. A war not of bullets or blades, but of time. Not with the world, but within their own minds. It's the war between what was and what might be. And most of humanity is losing it, trapped between the ghosts of yesterday and the illusions of tomorrow. But here's the truth. You will never find peace if you live in places you cannot touch. You will never find calm if your mind is always running backward. The past is memory, the future is imagination. Only the present is real. Yet how many of us are truly here? How many are replaying an old heartbreak, a missed opportunity, a betrayal, over and over like a broken record? How many are staring into a foggy future, afraid, anxious, always anticipating what might go wrong? This is not living. This is mental paralysis. And Stoicism calls us out of that trap. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Why? Because this moment right now is the only battlefield where you can act, respond, grow, build, and live. You cannot change the past. You cannot control the future. But you can command this instant. Let me offer a powerful example. Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, didn't just train his body, he trained his mind. He used to obsess over past mistakes during matches. He would carry the emotional weight of a lost point into the next one, and the next. Or he'd look ahead in fear. What if I lose? What if I choke? What if I fail? And those thoughts cost him games. Until one day he realized the truth. Victory doesn't exist in the past or future. It exists in this point. This serve, this breath. He trained himself to play inside the moment, fully, not distracted, not haunted, not rushed. And that change unlocked his true dominance. What about you? Where is your mind when you face conflict? Are you thinking of how they hurt you last week? Are you projecting what might happen next month? Because every second you spend in regret or anxiety, you abandon your power. You leak energy into things you cannot touch or change. But when you come back to now, when you breathe deeply, feel your body, and center your thoughts in the present, you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your clarity. You return to the only place where life actually happens. Here's the truth Stoicism whispers gently but firmly. You are not your past, you are not your worries. You are the action you choose in this moment. So how do we anchor ourselves in the now? First, watch your thoughts. When your mind drifts, don't judge it, gently bring it back. Say to yourself, come back, be here. Second, use your breath as your anchor. It's always with you, it's always happening now. Feel each inhale like it's the only one you have, because someday it will be. Third, let go of mental clutter. Not everything needs an answer. Not every thought deserves your attention. Let the noise pass like clouds across the sky. And finally, when the past knocks on your door, nod and say, I've learned from you, but you no longer lead me. When the future whispers its doubts, reply, you're not real yet. I'll meet you with strength when you arrive. Because in this moment right now, you have all the power you need to be calm, to be clear, to be whole. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. 6. Life is unfair, but that doesn't matter. Let's not sugarcoat it. Life is unfair. You can work harder than everyone in the room and still be overlooked. You can give your loyalty to someone and they betray you without remorse. You can do everything right and still suffer wrong. It happens every day, and no one is immune. Not the powerful, not the wise, not even the good. So the question isn't, will life treat me fairly? The question is, what will I become when it does? That's where the real power lives, not in changing the world, but in changing the way you face it. The Stoics were brutally honest about this. They never promised life would be just. Marcus Aurelius wrote, not to expect gratitude, fairness, or ease, but to prepare for challenge, for betrayal, for chaos. Not with bitterness, but with composure. Why? Because the moment you expect fairness from a chaotic world, you set yourself up to be a permanent victim of it. Let me show you what Stoic strength looks like through the story of a man who should have been broken, but wasn't. Nick Vujicic, born without arms, without legs, a life sentence many would say. No hope, no future, just a lifelong shadow of dependency. But Nick didn't surrender. He didn't say, "Why me?" He said, "What now?" He learnt to write, to swim, to play sports, to inspire millions. He didn't change his circumstances, he transcended them. That is what Stoicism teaches us. Not to ignore hardship, not to pretend injustice isn't real, but to stand in the face of it and say, "You don't get to decide who I become." Because while life may rob you of comfort, resources, status, even health, there is one thing it can never take without your permission: your response. The world may tell you, "You're too late. You're not good enough. You weren't born in the right place, to the right family, with the right connections." Fine, let them talk. You weren't born to meet the world's expectations. You were born to rise above them. Every time life treats you unfairly, you are given a test. Not a test of intelligence, not a test of luck, but a test of character. Do you crumble? Do you complain? Or do you rise calmly, steadily, with resolve? Because that's the Stoic path. To see hardship not as punishment, but as preparation. To see injustice not as defeat, but as a forge for your soul. You don't need life to be fair to be formidable. When others get the promotion, stay composed. When friends turn their back, remain centered. When life kicks you while you're down, get up not with rage, but with grace. Here's the truth most people never learn. Resentment changes nothing. Bitterness poisons the one who drinks it. Complaints make noise, but not progress. So what should you do when life deals you an unfair hand? Sojourner Scopul. You double down on the only thing that matters, mastering yourself. You work, you improve. You show up day after day, with quiet intensity. And you build the kind of man the world cannot ignore, even if it refuses to reward him. Because the Stoic does not depend on the world for validation. He doesn't need applause to do what is right. He doesn't need ideal conditions to remain calm. He understands this truth. Life is not fair, but my response to it will always be under my control. You will be betrayed. You will be overlooked. You will be tested. But if you remain composed, if you train yourself to rise calmly in the face of injustice, then the world can no longer shake you. You don't become less. You become untouchable. So let the world do what it does. And you do what few ever will. Keep walking, keep building, keep mastering your inner state, because when you stop demanding fairness and start choosing strength, that's when everything changes. 7. Don't let circumstances define you. Choose who you become. Some people are born into comfort, others into chaos. Some have a head start, others are handed obstacles. Some are praised for doing little, others are judged despite doing everything. But Stoicism doesn't care where you started. It only cares where you're headed. The world wants to label you. You're just a product of your environment. You're too damaged to rise. You were born with nothing, so expect nothing. You're a failure, a victim, a statistic, and maybe for a while you believed it. Maybe life hit hard again, and slowly you began to shrink. You started to mistake your current condition for your permanent identity. But listen closely. You are not your circumstances. You are your response to them. Read that again. The Stoics were crystal clear on this point. They didn't waste time complaining about fate. They trained for it. They didn't beg life to be fair. They became stronger than life's unfairness. Epictetus was born into slavery. No freedom, no possessions, no status. But he became a philosopher whose words echo across centuries, not because of what happened to him, but because of how he chose to interpret and respond to it. That's the choice you have right now. You may have been betrayed. You may have grown up in a home without love. You may have faced loss, failure, heartbreak, injustice. But none of that defines who you are, only who you were tested to become. You don't get to choose your storms, but you do get to choose your stance. You can let circumstances harden you into bitterness. or shape you into resilience. You can let others write your story, or pick up the pen and reclaim authorship. Because the truth is this: life doesn't break you, you break yourself when you forget your power to choose. So the next time someone tells you, you can't, you won't, you're not enough, you look them in the eye, or maybe just smile to yourself and whisper, watch me. Let the past be the past. Let the pain be fuel. Let the unfairness be your forge. Because every time you remain calm in the face of chaos, every time you choose clarity over confusion, every time you respond instead of react, you are no longer just surviving. You are becoming something greater. And slowly, brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice, you are building a version of yourself that the world can no longer shake. That is Stoicism in action. That is what calm truly is. Not just a feeling, not just a tactic, but an identity. A quiet revolution against the chaos of the world. So the next time life tests you, ask yourself, will I let this define me? Or will I let it refine me? The answer will shape everything that comes next. 8. Life is chaotic, but calmness is always within you. Let's be honest. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't pause to ask if you've had enough. It storms in loud, messy, sudden. You could wake up with a plan and lose it all by breakfast. One message, one phone call, one look. That's all it takes to turn peace into panic. Chaos is not the exception, it's the rule. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you stop trying to control the world and start learning to control yourself. Because here's the secret: you don't need the world to be calm for you to be calm. Imagine a stormy sea. The surface is wild waves crashing, winds howling, but deep beneath the surface, absolute stillness, silence. That's who you must become. You are the deep ocean. The surface may ripple, the sky may roar, but inside there is calm, not by accident, by choice. Let's bring this closer to home. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone raises their voice at work. A loved one says something hurtful. A plan falls apart at the last minute. Your nervous system reacts, heartbeat spikes, adrenaline flows. You want to snap, to shout, to match their energy. But that's the test. Not of their character, but yours. You can't control the driver. You can't change their words. You can't reverse the event. But you can do one powerful thing. Choose not to mirror the madness. That is Stoic power. Calmness is not indifference. It's not silence because you're afraid. It's silence because you're anchored. When others react, you respond. When others explode, you exhale. When others seek chaos, you radiate clarity. And this calmness, it's not born in grand, heroic moments. It's forged in the small, ordinary spaces of life. When you're in a family argument and you choose not to take the bait. When a friend ghosts you and instead of spiraling, you return to your focus. When a delay ruins your schedule and you adapt with grace instead of frustration. Each moment is a brick, and if you lay enough of them, you build a fortress no storm can shake. Here's a powerful truth. Most people want you to react, because when you react, they control you. But when you stay calm, they have to deal with themselves. Calmness reflects. It holds up a mirror. When you don't respond in the way they expect, they see their own chaos more clearly. You disarm them, not with aggression, not with argument, but with the unexpected power of peace. And yes, there will be days when your calmness is misunderstood. They'll say you're cold, that you don't care, that you're detached. Let them say it, because they don't understand what you've come to know. Calmness is not the absence of feeling, it's the refusal to be ruled by it. You feel the heat, but you don't boil. You feel the shake, but you don't shatter. You feel the urge, but you rise above it. That's not weakness. That's refined strength. That's trained character. So when life becomes a whirlwind, don't match its pace. Slow down, breathe, become the eye of the storm. Not because it's easy, but because that's who you've trained yourself to be. And when others lose themselves, you'll remain rooted. Not to prove anything, not to impress anyone, but because your inner peace has become non-negotiable. Because now you don't chase calm, you carry it. So now you know. Calm isn't passive. It isn't weakness. It's the quiet strength of a person who no longer dances to the world's chaos. It's the power of choosing stillness when the world expects a storm. Every situation you face, every insult, every delay, every unfair moment is another chance to reclaim your composure. To remind yourself, I don't react, I respond. Because in a world full of noise, the man who remains centered becomes unforgettable. So if this message resonated with you, if something inside you felt a shift, even a small one, then hold on to it, practice it, live it. And if you know someone who's going through the storm right now, send this to them. Let them know you don't need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is breathe. If you found value here, subscribe, because this journey isn't over. There's more to explore, more to master, more to become. But for now, take this final reminder with you. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within you. And when you master that, you've already won. I'll see you in the next one.